Primary is Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who joins us now. Senator Sanders, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
I posit that Hillary Clinton has been slightly more liberal in what she has said she wanted to do with her campaign than what I expected. Do you think that's true?
Well, it's hard to judge. You know, she's only been out there for a few days. But the issue, Rachel, to my mind, is in this strange moment in American history, when our middle class is disappearing, when we have so many people living in poverty, when we have to deal with climate change, when we have to deal with this horrendous level of income and wealth inequality, how do we address these issues in a way that takes on the billionaire class? There is one issue for me, Rachel, and that is, do we as a people, not Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, Rachel Maddow, are we prepared to take on the billionaire class now, where 99% of all new income is going to the top 1%, where they have significant control over the media, where they, by and large, determine the legislation that goes on in Congress, and as a result of Citizens United, are prepared to buy the United States Congress. There are a million issues out there, but the main issue is, will we retain a middle class? Will we retain our democratic foundation? Or in fact, I'm not over-exaggerating, will we move to an oligarchic form of society where this whole nation is going to be run by a handful of billionaire families, Koch brothers and others?
Do you see it as your mission to make essentially the Democratic Party take that on as the reason they exist and the way they are different from the Republican Party?
My mission is that I have 4 kids and 7 grandchildren, and I want them to live in a great country. And at present trends, that is not the case. I mean, the scientific community tells us that if we don't deal with climate change, this planet is going to warm up substantially. What kind of planet are we going to leave to our kids? So we have enormous problems. But at the end of the day, if you want to raise the minimum wage, if you want to create millions of jobs, if you want to end the disgrace of America being the only major country without a national health care program, you know what you have to do? You have to take on the billionaire class. You have to break up the Wall Street banks. You need real tax reform. I just introduced legislation the other day. We're losing $110 billion a year because corporations stash their money in the Cayman Islands and in Bermuda. That's what we have to do. You have to raise the minimum wage to a living wage. And to do all of those things, we need a mass movement in this country, like the likes of which we have never seen before. The only way we beat the billionaire class is when millions of people are organized and say enough is enough. We want to go to college without going bankrupt. We're entitled to health care as a right. We don't want our jobs to go to China. Wall Street can't run this country, et cetera, et cetera. And the question as a nation that we have to ask ourselves, do we have the courage to do that?
Do you think a potential presidential run, you running for president, could be the sort of thing that would catalyze that kind of movement? Is that part of why you're considering it?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that I'm looking at, and I don't know the answer to your question. We are looking. I mean, it's easy for me to give a speech, and we have huge turnouts all over the country. You tell me, do you think the American people are prepared to stand up to the billionaire class? People are so demoralized, they've given up on the political process. 80% of young people didn't vote in the last election. Can we bring people together and say, sorry, the billionaires can't control the United States Congress. We need fundamental changes in this country. I don't know the answer to that, but I am exploring that. And the other issue that you've touched on is, frankly, Hillary and the Republicans, you know how much money they're going to raise in this campaign? They're going to raise probably well over $1 billion. So
each on each side?
Each.
Yeah.
So then the question comes, if a candidate is out there to represent working families and relies on small contributions, can you win an election when you're so greatly outspent? Or is that over? Will the only candidates we have be those who have huge super PACs and billionaire backers? And if that's the case, that's a pretty sad state of affairs.
How will you make this decision? It sounds like you are, it sounds like, I've talked to you about this a few different times. It sounds to me like you are getting closer to making this decision.
I am getting closer.
How will you make the decision, and when?
It's going to end up having to be a gut reaction, and that is getting a sense of whether or not there really is the support for people to roll up their sleeves by the millions, frankly, and say, we need a political revolution in this country. And I mean those words advisedly. So I have to make that decision shortly, and I will. And the other factor, of course, is when I don't get super PAC money, how do we, and we get average $45 a contribution, you need a lot of $45 to raise a few $100 million. Can we raise that? And I have to ascertain that.
Senator Bernie Sanders, independent of Vermont. It's great to see you, sir.
Nice.
Thank you. All right, we've got a lot more ahead tonight, including a very important cabinet secretary who's going to be joining us tonight right here for the interview on a subject that has received zero attention so far, but is a